Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it on such short notice. My name's Dara and this is my husband, Jordan. And in the audience with us are other resident owners right here at the end of Pacific. And when I finish talking in a minute here, some of them are going to come up and say a few words as well. First of all, I want to say that we're all lovers of Fairview Park. That is why we moved here. We started this petition to the city and movement to force the city to mitigate the impact to our own resident safety, the public safety, the continuous vehicle trespass on our property, the loss of use of our property, and damage caused to the park at night that we have sustained and observed over several years due to the city of Costa Mesa's failure to act. The current explanation for the city's failure to act is that Measure AA passed and that their hands are tied. We couldn't disagree more strongly. These circumstances are exceptions under Section 6 of AA, and the city must act immediately to mitigate them, or there will be no other alternative for us personally but litigation. As property owners here, it's important for the community to understand that we have legal rights that others in the city do not have. For example, the city cannot force vehicles to use our driveways to turn around or allow vehicles to park here and block the use of our driveway and our property. Without an agreed upon easement, it is trespass to property. As such, we're entitled to injunctive relief and damages under the law due to the city's failure to correct this problem. By injunctive relief, I mean a court order forcing the city to abate the trespass and nuisance by either closing the entrance to the park, which we do not want to do. We want the community to have a natural, wonderful place to be that promotes mental health and the quality of life and reminds us all that we're all part of one creation. The city needs to provide a reasonable accommodation for vehicles to turn around on public property, not ours. Second, the city cannot foster an environment that allows for crime and viruses to run rampant around our homes. This is a nuisance that threatens our safety and health that has been created by the city's own failure to act on the master plan since 2011. We did not move to this nuisance on purpose and then begin to complain about it. As some would have many believe, it was a nuisance known of and planned to be mitigated by the city earlier than 2008 and reaffirmed further in 2013. And in purchasing our homes, we relied on the representations and approvals by the city that it was planned to be mitigated. 6 years to correct this problem is 5 years too long. I'd like to provide some background for everyone about the history of the turnaround, or otherwise referred to as a cul-de-sac on the approved master plan, which has been going on since about 2013, and then describe specifically what we're proposing to solve, once and for all, the extensive problems we experience here. Problems that are specific to our homes and our quality of life, the use of our own property, and problems we are forced to mitigate throughout the night in the park on behalf of all residents who love Fairview Park and do not want to see it damaged or abused. A little background. The approved master plan for the city of Costa Mesa, which was approved in 1998 and later ratified in early 2000, calls for a turnaround cul-de-sac at the end of Pacific Avenue with 10 parking spaces. That has been approved by the citizens of Costa Mesa since 1998. It was reaffirmed later in 2000, it was reaffirmed in 2008, and it was reaffirmed in 2013. But the opposition to this has been so great because we've been quiet so long about it that they succeeded in not only stopping the construction from starting that was approved in 2013, but they've also accomplished the passage of Measure AA. And as I said earlier, the problems we have deal with public safety and are exceptions to Measure AA. The prior proposal that had been generated by the City Council in 2013, we adamantly opposed. Most all residents at this end of the street opposed it. It was a beautiful plan with multiple parking stalls, and it looked a little bit like Disneyland. It was far too much. And we agreed with everybody about that. What we're proposing is different. And what some people may not know is that after that plan was approved, it was approved with a reduced scope of work. That work included storm drainage along parallel to the homes on Pacific and Nancy Lane from Canyon all the way to the bluff. Currently, right now, we have a V-ditch with weeds growing straight up in it that stalls all water, that allows for drainage from the property across the street and water to stand. And as I speak to you right now, we have mosquito traps hanging from the trees with prior mosquitoes that have tested positive for West Nile virus. What we're proposing is that the city immediately proceed with the storm drainage to mitigate the water in our park and adjacent to our homes, that they put in a very natural turnaround. We don't need parking spaces. We don't need pavement in the park. We need a very natural looking turnaround with fencing similar to the entrance over on the other side off of Placentia. In addition, we're proposing that they use native material, plant material to beautify the area and make it look like it's not a nice place to come and hide. One of the problems we have that's the biggest concern for us, and I think everyone will agree, that when you have some place that looks like nobody takes care of it or nobody cares about it, people are going to think it's a great place to come and commit crimes and do things you don't want happening in your park and adjacent to your homes because they think nobody pays attention to it. You add the fact that there's no protection here at night, the lighting is terrible, and the element that is attracted here is atrocious. We are also going to propose that we have permit parking on Placentia Avenue. We could say that we want permit parking all day and all night. If it's truly the city's intent to not have vehicles down here or people access the park, there's no reason for people to be parking out here all the time. But we know that that's not realistic. What's realistic is that the park closes at dusk, and there's no reason for people to be here at night. We're going to propose that we obtain permit parking for vehicles here after 8 o'clock in the evening. With that said, I'm going to take a minute and have some of the other neighbors talk for a minute. Is there anybody who wants to go first? Diarna? If you can, just share where exactly you live.
Hi, I'm Diarna Kalikas, and I live exactly across the street on Pacific Avenue. My house also butts to the park. And I've been here 2 years, and 2 years has been quite exciting. And I don't mean exciting in a good way, it's been horrific. I have had sleepless nights, fear for my life, drug abuse, sex in the cars, just a number of violence going on, fighting, screaming, waking up my family, calling the police, and it's just ridiculous. Trash, condoms, Kotex left at my door front full of blood because I've called the police and asked them to knock it off. It's just been a disaster. We bought this house 2 years ago with the plans that there would be a turnaround here. And as you can see, we have beautiful homes. And when you look at the guardrail, whatever that reason is for, it's disgusting. I come out here every day and sweep, pick up bottles, cigarette butts, trash, human feces. People pee up against my tree while I'm cooking, and I'm standing there cooking, and they're exposing themselves. For me, it's just been stressful and exhausting. I've called the police many, many, many times, and when they come, they make me feel like I am the criminal. I pay my taxes. We are not criminals. We oblige by the law. If we have no parking in the morning for street sweeping, we don't park here. We don't want tickets. But enough. I don't think anyone needs to be in that park after dawn. It is nothing, it is nothing but chaos. They leave trash in the park. They dig out the benches. You go for runs and you see potty everywhere, and not even just potty without bags from dogs. It's like people just feel like, they're out in the park. They need to go to the bathroom. They go. We have kids that walk by here every day to go to school. We have two beautiful schools. One is a high school, Estancia, and the other one is a private school and very expensive school. Yet they walk their kids to school and they walk by the same trash. It is a terrible thing to have to wake up in the middle of the night to screaming and yelling. It's scary. It frightens me. And, we have nothing we can do about this. I've had people, yell at me and swear at me and tell me they're going to come back and take care of me. I've seen my neighbor, who's not here right now, come out because they were so loud and take pictures of their license, and 3 men chase after him. He literally ran in his house and locked the door. It is just ridiculous. I had a woman break down my door at 3 o'clock in the morning, screaming on the top of her lungs and drunk out of her mind. And she was claiming that we were at a bar and we had taken her cell phone, which is absurd. We're sound asleep at 9 o'clock. We're early to bed people. The police finally came. They slapped her on the hand. Her other friend, which was drunk in the car, ducked down. The police put that lady in a taxi and drove off. And we were sitting there like, what the hell just went on? I love it here. I didn't just come here and find this house. I've been running here for years. And when this house came about, I was so blessed. The timing was perfect to put down the money and get this house. We've worked our whole life to have a beautiful home. We have wonderful neighbors. Everybody cares about this place. Our future, our children walk by here every day. It's nice to have a neighborhood that you grew up in and can live here again with your families. I just think I'm really fed up with the whole thing, and I'm grateful for Dara and Jordan and everybody else here that we all feel the same and we want the same. And another thing is that we don't have, with this turnaround here, I don't understand why there's a parking facility that is over in the entrance to the park, which is for everybody to come and park and play in the park. Yet that closes, the gates close, and no one gets in that way. But they leave my street, Nancy Street, open with free parking, and anybody can come anytime. So hopefully you guys will take this into consideration. I really don't understand why it's a problem. It should be done. It's all about caring about our neighborhood. So hopefully you guys will listen. Thank you.
Thank you, Dara. I'd like to introduce John, who's another neighbor right here on Pacific Avenue.
Good evening. My name is John Romero. I am a transplant from Massachusetts, having relocated here about 4 years ago. One of the things that really attracted us to this neighborhood was the fact that we had this beautiful park, Fairview Park, right here, right in our backyard. Our house borders on the street, and proximity to the park was just a great selling point for the house. Another selling point for the house was the fact that we were told there was going to be a turnaround. And it would make sense, because if this is an access to the park, then clearly you should have turnaround so people can come to the park. Having a railing there looks like a guardrail, which doesn't look like it is a guardrail. It really is not the best looking thing. It's not the best entrance to a park. I can tell you from experience that another issue is lighting. I come from a law enforcement background, spending 45 years in the police department, in 2 different departments, one where I was the chief of police in Massachusetts. I can tell you that lighting really is the biggest deterrent to crime. And if you get enough lighting, it's really going to keep crime away. I can tell you this park is a beautiful park. At night, it takes on a different atmosphere. And that's the issue for the neighborhood. We're here at night. It's beautiful in the daytime. People are here, and it's here to be enjoyed. It's a natural park. But certainly at night, it's not meant to be used by people. And, the signs are very clear. At dusk, the park is closed. And we feel that should be enforced. And the officers do. I know the officers are busy. Policing is a very difficult profession, and there are not enough police officers to go around. But a deterrent to crime is to be proactive and deal with the underlying issues that result in crime. And if you do that, more often than not, you prevent the crime from happening in the first place. And I think that's what we're looking to do here. I know when I was the chief of police, having a community that was concerned with what happened in the neighborhood, that meant a lot to me, and it made my job easier. And that's why we're happy that we're starting a community group here. We'd love to interact with the police department and talk about what's going on and stuff. And I think that's a plus for us and plus for the police department as well in the city of Costa Mesa. So we're looking forward to working with Costa Mesa. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. And I'd like to introduce Steve, another resident right here on Pacific Avenue.
My name's excuse me. My name's Steve Irvin. I live right behind Jordan, and fortunately for us, we're on the other side of the little track we have here. There's 10 homes, and we're right on the bluff. We don't really hear what's going on the street, but I hear all the stories. It's very disappointing. I've never lived in a community where it's so resistant to change. They fight you all the way. We were told the same thing. We moved in here March of 2011, and from the get-go, we knew there was going to be a turnaround here. At the time, there was some not too nice apartments across the street. I knew that property was for sale, so that was an incentive as well. And so we saw improvements. We were looking forward to this area changing. And it actually has changed a lot, but everything that John and Diarna have talked about is just unacceptable. I pick up trash out here as well, and we see a lot of bad. Actually, we were walking in the park with our dogs. It's been probably a year ago, and there was a woman by the bathrooms, completely naked, washing herself with the drinking fountain. Yeah, 11 o'clock in the morning. So I know there is a patrol in the park, but we were told by her that they have so many parks here and so little people driving through the parks that they don't have enough time to spend a lot of time here. It's a regular occurrence. You see kids, they'll pull up in their car and they have their backpack, a bottle of water, a chair. What do you think they're going to do? They're not walking through the park, and so, and then they come back. We see it. We have cameras here. We actually installed security cameras, kind of an indication of what's going on. Anyhow, I support whatever they can do to change this 110%. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. We're just going to have 2 more people real quick. I'm going to have Kelly come up. She's another resident on Pacific, and then Jordan right after that.
Hello, guys. So our house also faces Pacific, 2285 Pacific to be exact. So I don't even know where to begin. Oh, I'm so short. Okay. So I can say that I have met many of my neighbors on the balcony at 2:30 and 3 o'clock in the morning. to see people having sex in their cars, going to the bathroom right in front of my face so I see everything, people partying on our lawn at 2 o'clock in the morning. The cops come at 3, the kids hide in the park, they never find them. They go to their cars again at 4 o'clock in the morning. I call again, the cops come at 5, on and on and on. One night I actually called because guys were getting on body armor and had paint guns, so I had a helicopter come out. You name it, I've seen it. I've had people flip me off, I've had people yell at me. The list goes on and on and on. Every morning I pick up trash. I've had people sitting on my car. I've had people sitting in my driveway. I could go on and on and on. But yes, I've called the cops probably in the last 5 years, I don't know, 400 times. I used to call once a week, maybe twice a week when we first moved. Now I call probably once a month. But yeah, something needs to change. It's very stressful, exhausting, and whatever we need to do, we'll do to get this turnaround in place here. Thanks, guys.
Well, first of all, thank you. My name is Jordan, and it's been 2 years since my last meeting. Oh, sorry, wrong format. The stories that you've heard are true. I have some pictures that we do our best to try to document some of this as proof in the event that we're asked for evidence. I just would like to encourage you that we have seen the designs that have changed from the original proposal, where they enhanced it with 42 parking spots. What's in the design is a lot less. It's a lot less invasive into the park. It actually gives park patrons an opportunity to come and drop people off and then go find another place to park. What's happening here is that they don't realize that there's a guardrail here, and there's speed sometimes as a factor where they're having to slam on the brakes. They didn't realize either their GPS or something was telling them that they could go through here. Our vehicles have been hit in the process of them trying to turn around. I have evidence of that. We've had 2 vehicles that were hit. I believe Rick's truck has been hit. There's been other vehicles that were hit as well that I was witness to. And they don't leave notes. It's as they try to get out of here as fast as possible. As Steve mentioned, we have installed security cameras just to help capture some of this, hopefully to keep the honest people honest and as a deterrent for illegal activity. A little bit more on the, we're hoping that the turnaround and an enhancement of this entrance to the park would help to deter the crime that we see. You show that you take care of something or other, you're going to promote a little bit more mental health, a little higher quality of life, and it would cause the patrons to actually maybe show a little bit more respect towards the park and hopefully towards us. That's all we're asking for, respect what we've worked hard to acquire. I mean, I'm not standing up here complaining about all of the dog mess and urine that our water, we don't have to water our yard as much, but it gets watered very heavily. I want to thank you guys for your interest in this. We're hoping that it goes peaceful and that the city sees that. I mean, I know they understand because they approved the plan, and what's happened with Measure A is that they become handcuffed, and we're hoping to be able to spread the word. We're going to go there tonight, and through our little 3 minutes that we get to talk to City Hall, and hopefully our voice will be heard. So we appreciate you supporting this, and thank you for signing our petition.
I'm just going to make some real fast closing comments in that I want to say, address some of the opposition that I've heard. I don't know where my notes went, but and to answer one big question, why is this good for the city? Well, first of all, having a turnaround that's natural, secured with a gate, proper drainage, and looks like the community takes pride would certainly reduce the crime here and alleviate the burden of our already understaffed police force. which the city and the press has been discussing for many, many months. 400 phone calls to the police department, patrols out here. These are unnecessary burdens on our police department that can be mitigated. Also, permit parking. We're more than happy to pay fees for permits. It's a source of revenue as well for the city, in addition to potentially ticketing people that are here after 8 o'clock at night. So those things are good for the city. But here's some of the things that I've heard opposing arguments. Many of them, I have to say, are very, very angry to what we're asking this city to do, to simply allow us to have quality of life that we paid for. The first one is, you should have done some research before you moved here. That's your problem. Well, as you've heard, we all did our research. We're actually pretty intelligent people. And I don't think any one of us would pay $700,000 to $800,000+ for a home to live here next to a guardrail where we couldn't use our driveways and be subjected to such crime. All of us knew there would be a turnaround here, that the city had planned it, and there was an approved master plan for it. The other one is, and this comes direct from Measure AA supporters, by the way, who shall remain nameless. It's your fault you bought a home here. Welcome to the club. Well, we bought a home here because we love Fairview Park in Costa Mesa. And we really do not want to be part of any club. A turnaround will cause more cars to come down Pacific Avenue. Well, first of all, the ship has sailed and the horse has left the barn. Cars come down here all day long, every day, at all hours of the night, including people. A turnaround with no parking would just keep them from hitting our cars and parking and blocking our driveway and pulling in our driveways to turn around. How will a turnaround get rid of West Nile virus? Okay, that's a valid question. The turnaround plans approved by the city include infrastructure improvements for the storm drain system behind Diarna's home, which, by the way, right immediately out of her kitchen as we speak are mosquito traps testing for positive West Nile virus mosquitoes and have tested positive. The storm drainage and the turnaround come together as one construction package, and that's how the two are connected. So with that said, I want to thank everybody, and we're going to open this for questions, and we're going to address all of them, and then we're all going to go to City Hall that's wanting to go, and we are going to address the City Council with these same points. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So I think as you guys have all seen how Measure AA was done, it was a lot of photos, a lot of pictures, a lot of, my name is Rob Dixon. I live on the end of Congress, right where it intersects with State. And my biggest suggestion to all of you, if you live here, is do what you've been doing. Take photographs that you can bring and show at City Council meetings. If all of you don't have the time to do it because it's an inconvenient time, then I would suggest that you take photographs of what's happening on your street and the impacts that you guys are having from not having to turn around and the parking and the crime, and just show the City Council, at least one of you or whoever you want to designate, at every meeting. And you want to get the public aware of what's going on, because I don't think there are. I think the narrative has been seized by the pro-AA people.
We agree, Rob.
Right.
Yes.
So I think that they're just looking at you have to fight the Save the Park people, which everybody wants to save this park. The park is gorgeous. It's one of the reasons we moved here. We bought in 2011. We come over here all the time with our kids, and it's just gorgeous. It's a great place to walk. It's a great place to just spend time in nature. It's wonderful. Nobody wants to change this park, but we just want to have this is crazy with the pooling of the water and the no parking. I think there should be 10 spaces here, but that's just me. But having a turnaround for safety. I mean, when you think about the fire department saying they can get in off Placentia, well, if there's a hot, fast brush fire, wouldn't you want them to get in here quickly? So
Absolutely.
I just think that the best thing you guys can do to make your case and to show the rest of the city what's happening here is to take pictures, be present, be factual, and just try to counter the emotional, non-factual arguments with what your life is every day and to see why you need this. Because it should happen. I'm afraid that it might take a vote of the people. I don't think that the City Council can do anything. I think it's going to have to go to a vote. But maybe the city can start the process at the city level and get the city approvals done, and then they'll have to do the vote per AA. But I think, the best thing you can do is just make the council aware of what's happening all the time so that they can't hide from it, because it's real. So thank you, guys.
So with that said, I want to just, over here, I have a pad of paper for anybody who wants to receive copies of the evidence and the documents that we've been referring to in the archive. We have a lot of photos, a lot of different things. And I also want to get an email address so I can keep you all updated on what's going on and any events that were happening, and also any successes we're having with the city. But most importantly, I want you to have the actual information that we're referring to, and what photographs and everything that we've collected thus far. Including, by the way, the City of Costa Mesa's own vehicles parked in front of our driveway, blocking us from getting in because they themselves have no place to park. Do we have any more questions? Sure, can you come on up here? Okay.
Some more slack.
I'm afraid I didn't get to hear all of your presentation.
Here?
I didn't get
Okay.
to hear all of your presentation, so I'm not sure that some of the questions that I have weren't all right. That's okay. I'm pretty loud.
We need it for the
Oh, okay.
camera.
So I'm not sure that some of the questions that I have weren't already answered. I go back to the history of what happened here the last time we had a meeting like this, when former Mayor Righeimer was here, when he referred to our neighborhood twice as third world, and promised to give us sidewalks, which we got, which I think was very good. Of course, it brings more people in. I've always had a lot of questions about this turnaround, so I'm not sure right now what your position is on the turnaround. Do you want the turnaround?
We want the turnaround. I'll come on over here and address your questions for you.
Okay.
Yeah, we did cover all that, but I'll give you a narrative. I'll just give you a rundown. We want a natural turnaround with no parking. Okay, that's minimally invasive into the park with natural native plant material and a secured gate, just like they have over off of Placentia.
Okay.
Okay, and we want permit parking on the street after 8 p.m. at night.
Okay, fine.
And the storm drainage infrastructure to be put in that
Sure.
was approved
Sure.
to mitigate the drainage.
Okay, well, I still have a couple of things about that, but I'm more concerned that when you go to the city, that you really have numbers. When I read the petition, which I've read, I see things like extensive crime, drug use arrests, sexual activity, theft, vehicle damage, West Nile virus, noise and crime, but I don't see any quantification of that. And the city council is going to ask you for quantification. It's going to ask you, how many police calls have there been at night? They're going to ask you, how many times have you called the police to come to deal with crime in the park at night? And I don't see any of those numbers now. It would be a good idea.
Answer your question.
Okay,
What was your name, by the way?
Norm Fricker, I live
Okay. Hi, Norm.
on the side.
Hi, Norm. You know what? We absolutely agree with you. We've requested copies of all of the call logs for the hundreds of calls that we've made as directed by City Council and the police commanders. And just as of this morning, I was told by a lieutenant in charge of record keeping at the city that there is no way in HE double hockey sticks that we would ever get that, because he doesn't have the staff to find it and he doesn't even know where it is. So he referred me to the logs that the police keep at the front desk, and I asked him, I said, well, how old are those? He says, I don't know. I said, okay. I said, well, we are planning to meet with the Mayor Katrina Foley and potentially the police commander, and we did exactly what the City Council told us to do 2 years ago, because they said that that was all discoverable and we could obtain it. But today, after many phone calls and waiting, I find out we can't. I also suggested to him that, was he telling me I needed to do a Freedom of Information Act request? He said, well, I don't even know if that would get you it. okay? So he suggested we talk to the mayor and the commander to try and obtain that information. As far as the evidence of the other crime issues, we have photograph evidence of sex in the car. We have photographs of damaged vehicles. We have photographs of drug deals on the street. We have photographs of people smoking pot, littering, loitering, and we have a lot of pictures of license plates because that's what the city told us to take so that we could turn it over to them. We're going to continue documenting and build and provide as much information as possible. And Norm, if you'd like to leave your email address with me, we will give you access to all of that information, okay?
A couple of other quick things. I want to ask Rob this, because the last time this issue was discussed, it was pretty much a discussion of dealing with the master plan. And in that discussion, they wanted to have 33 parking places.
At one point it's 42.
Well, yeah, at one point it was more than that. And it was reduced to 10. Well, but my understanding is that in the master plan right now, it's 10. And in the master plan right now, there's a tot lot just over there beyond those trees with no restrooms. These, to me, become more attractive nuisances that you really don't want. And my concern is that the city council will say, well, what you're asking us to do is to go through with the master plan. And changing the master plan is pretty difficult. That's part of the reasons we're at a stasis now where nothing has been done, because the city wanted to change the master plan in a large way, and we raised so much of a stink that they just decided, let's just leave the master plan where it is. And so I have a concern about opening that particular Pandora's box.
Let me address that for you.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to make sure we take it point by point, okay?
Yeah.
So, and I know you came late, so I'm going to kind of summarize what we had already said earlier. The city council and the community overwhelmingly rejected a turnaround with 10 parking spaces, and even more vehemently the 42 spaces. The result of that was that city council in about August 2013 approved a turnaround with no parking and no tot lot. And that is the plan that we want. We don't want a tot lot because we agree with you, Norm, at this particular time. Those are not issues of public safety that we have. The turnaround without parking is parking. You know, we don't have a problem with people using the street during the day to park. The turnaround is an issue of public safety and mitigation to trespass on our property. So that has to happen. And the drainage, of course, is important, which is part of that plan too. So we agree with you. What we're trying to do is strike middle ground and address as many of the concerns as possible with the community, but also mitigate the legal issues the city of Costa Mesa has with us as homeowners.
You know, I just have two other really quick things. One I would say, you know, if you don't have a problem giving people access, how does that square with permit parking? Because if you don't have a permit, you can't park.
We're going to have permit parking after 8 p.m. because the park is closed at night, and that's when most of the crime occurs, when it's dark.
Okay. Secondly, another thing I just would like to see maybe slightly more care given to is in looking at the petition online, there are just names there. And I know already that some of those people who I personally know live out of town. I know one person who lives in Placentia. You've got people who live in Newport Beach who may own houses here. There are no addresses, and it just seems to me that you need to be a little more careful when you're giving something to the city council saying this represents maybe residents of Costa Mesa, you might want to be more careful about that. Okay. I'm done.
Okay, good. Yeah, and we agree with that too. Our petition, and there's other petitions, and Norm, I think what we laid out is that we don't believe that this is an issue that's going to have to go to vote to the public because it's a matter of public safety, and currently the city is trespassing on our property and it has to be mitigated. I don't think those two issues under Section 6 of the AA measure are anything that the community should vote on to mitigate. But as far as the petition's concerned, I agree with you. And our side of it, we have more information about who these people are. And I'll tell you what's interesting, and it's really strange. For example, when Diarna, who spoke earlier, signed it, it registered her as being located in Newport Beach. For some reason, the view that other people have, and Rick signed it, and it showed he was in Irvine. And so the view that the public has about the locations, I think it's pinging in maybe where they are at the time that they signed it or where their phone says they are. I have no idea. But anyway, it's to show the initial support. And if we have to take anything further, we will have a much more formal process similar to what they did with Measure AA. Okay? Does anybody else have any more questions? If not, we're going to head over to the city and attend the City Hall meeting. Anybody? Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate all your time.